The next segment of tonight's program highlights the impact of the Haury Program funding, and we're focused on our funding to students this year. Our panelists, we have 3 panels, and they're going to provide you with information about the unique and outstanding activities and projects they've undertaken with the Haury Program support. Through these awards, the program seeks to seed sustainable efforts to improve society, the environment, and the university. So first, I'd like to ask the students of the Environmental Law Society to tell us about the summer internships in social justice and environment. And they can come up now if they would like to. The Haury Program funded this endeavor through our Next Generation Communication Initiative's advocacy focus. Mia Hammersley is a 3rd-year law student, and she's leading the efforts with Wouter Zwart, second-year law student, I'm sorry. And then the other 2 gentlemen are 3rd-year law students Zachary Forman and Erwin, and they completed internships this past summer. So we'll hear a little bit about the program that they're hoping to establish at the law school, and also how the internships went. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Mia Hammersley. I'm a 3rd-year law student. A little bit about my background: I did a master's degree in water society and policy here at the U of A before I started law school, and I came to law school with the goal of working in environmental or indigenous peoples law. So this student initiative really began in earnest last year, and just to give the non-lawyers in the room a little bit of context, the traditional path of a law student is each summer in between their academic school year, they'll apply for a position with either a firm or some kind of legal group to work for approximately 8 to 10 weeks. These summer jobs are a really crucial part of our legal education, and they're really crucial to getting experience and expertise in the field of law that we're interested in, and really help us and kind of guide our career paths for after we graduate. So the impetus for this student initiative was that there's kind of a big difference in the types of work that students can do. If a student comes in with an interest in public interest law, wants to work for someone like maybe an environmental nonprofit organization or something like the ACLU, usually those legal groups aren't able to provide any payment for law students during that time over the summer. To contrast that, if someone were to work for a firm for about 8 to 10 weeks, you could make even up to $20,000 for the summer. So for many students who come in with that interest, that lack of financial support can be a big barrier to pursuing that type of legal career. So because of that, and because there are many students at U of A who have a strong interest and commitment to public service of various sorts, to social and environmental justice, we wanted to create a permanent fund over the summer that students who do accept unpaid positions with nonprofit organizations could apply for, just to receive a small stipend to ease some of that financial stress. So Wouter will tell you a little bit about our fellowship program that we started this last summer.
So I'm Wouter. I'm a 2nd year. I grew up here in Tucson. I came to law school with a public interest, interest in immigration and environmental law. And the Haury program was able to, they awarded us $15,000 last year, and we were able to fund 4 summer fellows. And the fellowship basically provides a living stipend for kind of qualified students who accept unpaid positions with nonprofit law organizations over the summer, with kind of environmental and social justice focus is kind of our primary interest. And we had, our scholarships were $3,750, which is easy enough if you have to go somewhere else to pay for rent and food and kind of cover kind of the basic costs. Enough that at least when you're not making a choice between a firm job and a nonprofit job, at least you're not going in debt or having to take on more student loans. So that was kind of our goal. And we had 4 students, and they worked for Earth Justice, the Arizona Capital Representation Projects, the Tucson Family Advocacy Center, and Southern Arizona Legal Aid. And we have a similar goal of $15,000 for this next summer, which we're working hard to fundraise for. We really want to create this into a more permanent organization that kind of lasts beyond, because we all graduate in a year or two, and we really want this to be something that kind of becomes part of the law school and U of A in general. So we're working really hard to kind of create a foundation at the school that will kind of live beyond us. So next week we have a fundraiser during Homecoming Union. We have some flyers out back. Kathy Brody, who's a UA alum, legal director of the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, will be speaking for us. It'll be a great event, and there'll be a reception to follow. So if you're interested in that, there's flyers in the back and up front. But more importantly, we have two of our summer fellows here who will speak about their experiences, Zach and Alex. So please give your attention to them.
Hi. Hello. Thank you all for being here. It was an extreme honor for me to receive this social justice fellowship this summer. To be honest, I wasn't sure if my application was going to make the cut because I was worried that the job that I wanted would be considered sort of squarely within criminal law and not social justice-y enough. But I made a pretty emphatic argument that the space that criminal law occupies is wrongful, and really the space that should be attended to by social justice, by public health. I had become interested in juvenile sentencing. I saw a number of cases of 16, 17-year-olds, 15-year-olds that were sentenced to imprisonment for terms up to 139 years. I'm thinking of one in particular, a 17-year-old who was sentenced to 139 years of consecutive sentences for something that was nonviolent and didn't result in any deaths or injuries. He lit a number of carports on fire around town in the middle of the night, and admittedly that's a social ill, but I guess for me what's really missing in so much of criminal law is the contextualization. These juveniles invariably have backgrounds of immense trauma of every sort. From the time they're young kids, the cases that I've had the honor to work on this summer, a number of them are from foster backgrounds, numerous foster backgrounds where there's a difference in race, where they're born addicted, there's just, no matter how much love sometimes the foster parents have for these kids, and it's incredible, there's just sometimes not enough. There's just so much disadvantage, so much lack of support, so much pathologization sometimes of adolescence, particularly when juveniles are in the most, I guess, high-risk contexts. For me, I'm really happy. The work that I had exposure to broke my heart. It broke my heart all summer, and it continues to. But I'm still doing it because it also, I can't explain. It's really interesting. I know that some types of really emotionally demanding work, you think that it sort of wears you down or something, but there's just something immensely generative about it for me. And I don't know if I'm talking too much about the wrong things, but I think that, you see the injustice of the system. I'm talking too much about just people's backgrounds, but really the way that the legal system operates on people in these kinds of positions is so strange to see, because you have these kids who come from, they're low functioning, they come from contexts of adults with sort of low functioning, not super successful in the traditional ways, but then you see all these super high functioning, privileged, rational people working at the county attorney's office, sitting on benches as judges, and the amount of concerted effort and tireless tax dollars that is spent to cage children and expose them to greater trauma than they experience on the outside for sure. I can tell you some of the stuff is horrific that happens to these kids immediately when they're inside. But to see that work visited upon these kids is the greater, to me, it seems like greater violence than anything that we've seen from the criminal records of our clients. Now, granted, there's really horrible stuff out there as well, but I think, you know, I think people are starting to wake up to the problems with the criminal and justice system. And it largely has to do with contextualization, and it's largely an issue of social justice because it's entrenched power, resource, distributions where people are on certain paths and they're just sort of destined for the system to work against them. And there's no amount that you can sort of fund a public defender that can ease the burden. And for me, this job was, I'm getting to work on some of to argue for changes in the law, essentially different interpretations of the law to ensure that people who are incarcerated as juveniles are maybe entitled to some meaningful opportunity for release when they demonstrate their maturation, etc., their fitness for society. You know, thank you for listening to that little blurb. I'm not sure if that's really the right points or not. I'm really nervous up here talking about it. And it's something that I'm really passionate about, so that's a horrible recipe. but I want to thank you guys for being here, because there are some things that just can't get funded through the typical routes. Like, you can imagine why traditional legal institutions just aren't going to be the ones driving the sort of breaking down of some of their own parts. And so that's one reason that I see need for outside sources of funding. I mean, despite the fact that we have an amazing administration at our law school that's made public-minded students more able to attend law school than they would be in any other state, and I'm really grateful for that. But like Mia said, I guess now I'm transitioning over to the pitch program aspect. But like Mia said, the summer jobs really are important because they do kind of set you on a track. I've had a couple of different options at the beginning of the summer, and this fellowship really did sort of make the difference for me. And I ended up with a job offer, and I think I'm going to be staying there. So, thank you guys. I was working with the Arizona Capital Representation Project.
Thanks, Zach. Hi, I'm Erwin. I'm a 3L, and I'm also a fifth-year PhD student in the genetics department, focusing on wildlife conservation. So this summer, I worked for Earth Justice in Anchorage, Alaska. So for those who don't know, Earth Justice is one of the largest environmental nonprofits that focuses solely on litigation and the legal system. For me, this was a really perfect opportunity to kind of merge everything that I've been working on, whether using my science background, using what I've learned about wildlife and the environment in general, as well as taking everything I've learned at the law school and really applying it to real-world cases and real-life situations. A lot of these cases really do rely on scientific evidence, and a lot of the traditionally trained lawyers might not have some of this experience. So I was really funneled a lot of wildlife cases and funneled a lot of science cases, and just had a really wide breadth of what we're working on. So just kind of an overview of the caseload. We worked a lot this summer on offshore drilling. As almost everyone knows, climate change is in some ways selective, and the groups that are going to be most affected by it are the people who can't afford to be affected by it. So kind of fighting these offshore drilling, fighting these oil leases that are going on is one of the most effective ways that we could both fight for the environment and for justice. I was fortunate to work on a lot of mining cases where the waters that a lot of these tribes rely on for subsistence fishing and hunting were being poisoned by hard metals, and really got to delve into the scientific literature to see where is the support for what we're arguing. And I'm very grateful for the Haury Program for making all of this possible.